Hi there everyone, this is Kerri Ho from the Songbird.com. Today's video is about how to sing with great vocal tone. Now this is actually in response to your questions, and in particular by Cornada TV, one of the viewers out there. So thanks for that suggestion, and I hope that this video will be helpful. Now before I actually launch into that, it's actually quite a big topic, and I think I'm going to do it over 2 videos, so we'll see how we go. But yeah, before I get into that, I want to tell you about 2 new blog posts that I've written on my website that you may be interested in. One is called 3 Things That Anne Hathaway from Les Mis taught me about how to make your singing dreams come true. And the second one is 10 steps to nailing your next audition part 1. So at the end of this video, go ahead and head on to my website to take a look at that if you're interested. I'll also let you know about a free gift that is associated with those 2 blog posts at the end of this video. Okay, so without any further ado, let's get into the question of how to sing with great vocal tone. Okay, so before I even get into how you do that, the first thing I need to do is define what is vocal tone. At the end of the day, vocal tone is pretty much just the character or quality of the sound of your voice. So for example, you would say that Adele has a very strong and solid vocal tone. And then you would also say that MacGloughlin has a warm and breathy tone. So, you know, I'm describing really the character or the quality of the way they sound when they sing. So that's what vocal tone is. So then how do we actually define great vocal tone? See, the thing is, at the end of the day, this is actually a very subjective subject, because different people will prefer different types of vocal tones. You know, there are as many different types of vocal tones as there are different singers, right? And so it's very subjective. That's the first thing I need to say. So it's actually quite hard to define what actually constitutes great vocal tone. And also the differences in tone depending on what style you're singing. So for example, if I am singing musical theatre, then the tone of musical theatre is very, very clear diction, in such a way that, you know, all the words are very clearly heard, and it's kind of there's this kind of spoken sung quality to it, you know. So it sounds something like this: on my own, pretending he's beside me, all alone, I walk with him till morning. So you can see there, you know, very clear diction. It's a very forward sound. And I kind of semi-spoke that, you know, I didn't sort of went da 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 da, you know, I walk with him till morning, because there's a bit of a spoken quality to it. So that's a tone that is specific to music theatre. Now, if I sort of turned to another direction and looked at contemporary pop, it'd be a completely different tone altogether. So for example, if I was to belt out a tune by Beyonce, listen, I am alone at a crossroads. I'm not at home in my own home. So you can hear that that was completely different to what I was just singing before in the musical theatre genre. The tone there is, because it was a belted song, it's very strong, but there's a little bit more laziness to my diction. I slide some of the notes, you know. I am alone in a crossroads, right? And so the tone differs again there. Now let's go to the other end of the spectrum. What about classical? That's a completely different tone altogether, right? So if I'm trying to sing a classical song, I'm not going to sing it the way I sang Beyonce or On My Own from Les Mis, right? It's a completely different tone altogether. It's a very ringy, open, free, head voicey kind of tone, all right? So for example, si si ci voglio andare e se l'amassi intorno. See, completely different tone there, right? Sounded completely different in character to what I was singing before. So as you can see, there are as many different vocal tones as there are styles and singers, okay? So I'm just saying all that to just say it is very difficult to be able to define what is great vocal tone and to have one blanket statement as to what that is. Okay, but having said that, there is definitely, in my opinion, okay, in my humble opinion, certain things and aspects that actually make your vocal tone technically great, which then allows you to be able to change your tone and whatever to suit different types of genres, just like I just did, right? So I'm going to talk to you about these today, all right? The main three things that I'm going to talk about is, number one, great vocal tone has no strain, okay? There is no strain in the sound. There is complete freedom and openness, right? So, for example, if I was to sing Listen from by Beyonce, and let's just say I did have some strain in my voice, okay? Listen, I am alone at a crossroads. I am alone in my own home. So, yuck, right? I mean, when there is strain, immediately the sound or the quality or the character of the voice just isn't pleasant. It feels like the singer is in pain, right? And when the singer actually sounds like they're in pain, it's normally quite painful for the audience. Okay, so that's number one. The number one thing about great vocal tone is that it doesn't sound strained and there is complete freedom and openness. Now, number two, the second thing about great vocal technique is placement. So the idea that your voice is always placed up high around here in the mask of the face, and that it is always traveling forward. Okay, so for example, if I didn't travel forward with my sound, it would sound something like this. Listen to the song here in my heart, a melody I stop but can't complete. All right, so you can hear there that there isn't a lot of body to my sound. It's not really going anywhere. It's sort of just coming out of my mouth and dropping to the floor. But if I actually made sure that I had placement, good placement, in other words, I am buzzing the sound here in the mask of my face and I'm actually traveling it forward, it will change the tone completely. Listen to the song here in my heart, a melody I start but can't complete. Okay, so you can hear the distinct difference between that. And so hopefully you agree with me. When I actually place my voice here and it actually travels somewhere, the tone and the color of it just sounds so much better, right? So that's number two, making sure that we have good placement and that there's this, and that with good placement comes that feeling of the voice traveling forward. The last thing that I want to talk about is our vowels. Okay, A, E, I, O, U. Now, a lot of singers don't realize how important vowels are, but they are crucial to singing with great technical vocal tone. So, for example, let me illustrate what I'm talking about here. So, with your vowels, what we want to do overall is that we want to make sure that our vowels are pure, so we don't distort the sound of a vowel. So, if it's an R, then it's an R. You know, it's not a ah. You know, that's too wide, right? So that sort of thing. So what we want to be able to do is to sing in such a way that our vowels are narrow and focused. So let me show you. If I sang again this song by Beyonce, Listen, and if I didn't have narrow vowels, my tone is going to sound wide and splattered. So, listen, I am alone at a crossroads. Sorry, that's just really hilarious. But as you saw, it sounded terrible, right? Because my vowels were really, really wide. I was like, listen, I am alone. You know, it was just too much, really wide. Now, okay, let's try that again. Take two. Let's make sure it's a bit more narrow. Listen, I am alone at a crossroads. Okay, so you can see immediately there is more depth to the tone. And a richness, right? Whereas before it just sounded in your face, harsh, and pretty ugly, right? So there you have it. Three really important things in terms of what makes a great vocal tone. Number one, no strain and complete freedom and openness in your voice. Number two, good placement, which allows your voice to travel forward. And three, narrow vowels. Okay, so they're the three things that I want you to keep in mind when you are singing in order to produce a great vocal tone technically. Now, there's actually a lot to that, and I would actually like to give you some practical tips and exercises to develop those three things, but only if you want it, okay? So what I'd like you to do is click like at the bottom of this video if you would like me to do a part 2 on this series where I actually give you some exercises to show you how to make those things happen. Okay, so at the beginning of this video, I did say that I have a free gift for you associated with those new blog posts that I had written. Okay, so let me just recap, okay? 2 new blog posts. One was 3 things that Anne Hathaway from Les Mis taught me about how to make my singing dreams come true. And the second one was 10 steps to nailing your next audition, part 1. All right, so both of those blog posts are actually linked below, so you can just go down there and click those links and you would be taken straight to the blog post. Now, here's the free gift. If you read the whole blog post and go right down to the very end, I actually have made a audio series called 6 Essential Vocal Exercises. 6 Essential Vocal Warm-Ups, all right? So basically, all you need to do is click like, and so that will actually like my Facebook page, and then you will get immediate access to my 6 Essential Vocal Warm-Ups. And you know what? It's actually about 18 or 20 tracks that I put together with explanation of the exercise, with the actual exercise, and then me playing the piano accompaniment as well. It's all in MP3 format, so you can easily just put it into your phone or your computer, wherever you want, so that you can actually have your vocal exercises wherever you want to go, all right? On the go, right? So there you go. If you would like to grab that, then go ahead down there, just click on either of those blog posts. And of course, I hope you read the blog posts too, because hopefully they'll be helpful to you. And then you can get those as well. All right, well, there you go. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to leave me a comment, or if you haven't yet done so, subscribe to my channel for new singing videos. All right, get grounded, take flight, and sing!